Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joining alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers, talk some draft. We're live on YouTube, X, and Rumble. You can also check this show out in podcast form. Just search Packernet Podcast for that. Hopefully everybody had an awesome day. Gents, how we doing?
Wonderful.
Ready to go.
Bro, 79 degrees tomorrow down here. 79. We made it. We finally made it. So
let's go.
I'm fired up.
Spring is in the air. Let's get it.
I'll tell you, we got some other good news too. As last night we showed you the spill that Tyleik Williams took, right? And it looked ugly, right? We were a little concerned, man. Did he bang up that knee? Did the knee actually give? He actually put a tweet out here, Tim. I'm okay. I'll cramp a little cramp at the end, nothing serious. If I ran through and didn't fall, 4.8, 4.9 at 329. So, I can't tell if there was sarcasm there or not. I imagine there's probably some.
No, there is. He's got the laughing emojis, right? But you know what, though? It's just like Jacob was saying last night, right? Like, he looked pretty good until he fell down. You know,
he did.
He was moving pretty good. So, thank God it's nothing serious. You know, that's a top tier prospect, and you'd hate to see a guy running a 40 and lose his rookie season in the NFL. So glad that it was nothing serious for Mr. Williams here.
Definitely. And listening to Greg Cosell earlier today as he broke down defensive tackles, really, really big on Tyleik Williams. He really likes that dude. So obviously he got a bonus. He jumped a little bit on our board. I want to say he's around the 32 or 33 spot now. But continuing what we talked about yesterday, and to kind of put a little bow on it since we're talking about Greg Cosell, here was his breakdown on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast about Emeka Egbuka. And exactly how, in terms of deployment, all those things, as actually Bill Huber today put out an article. Let me drop this down just a second. Put out an article. I'm not going to put his article up on the screen, but you guys make sure you go check it out. Just check him out on Twitter, and you'll be able to find the article. And he talked about where Gutey has been lately. And he opened up the article, said everyone knows the history. The Green Bay Packers have not drafted a wide receiver in the first round of the NFL draft since 2002. That was about a year and a half before Texas receiver Matthew Golden was born. Arizona receiver Tet McMillan was about a year from being born, and Ohio State receiver Emeka Egbuka, the old man of the group of receivers, who Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst personally scouted over the last week, was only 6 months old. So it's saying that Brian Gutekunst actually personally scouted Emeka Egbuka at the Ohio State Pro Day. It shows him with the picture here. It shows Emeka jumping his vertical, and Gutey's right there watching him. Like you can see him in the front row. So today on the yesterday on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, he talks about deployment and Emeka Egbuka. I know we had a conversation last night. Is Emeka Egbuka only a slot? Here's what Greg Cosell had to say specifically about Emeka Egbuka. And I want to get your all's take on how you feel where he may or may not rise up the board. He obviously got the Greg Cosell bonus, but here we go.
We'll be wrong.
What about Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, a guy that we've been talking about for a couple years?
Yeah.
Feels like he's been in Ohio State a long time. Thought he'd probably leave school last year with Harrison Jr. He didn't. What do you think of Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, Greg?
I mean, for what he is, I love the kid. And I listened to him speak at the podium at the Combine, and he speaks like a 10-year pro. I mean, this kid, he's predominantly a slot receiver at Ohio State. Now, the way the game has changed, that could mean a lot of things. I mean, you put him on a team like the Rams, and I'm not saying that's where he's going. Obviously they signed Devontae Adams, but
so Rams, that's the offense we run. We run McVay's offense in Green Bay. For those of you who want,
you put him with teams that have a lot of reduced splits, and theoretically, he could be an out.
When he says reduced splits, that's what we refer to as nasty splits. You'll hear us in Chalk Talk all the time saying, whatever, bunch nasty X or nasty Z, whatever it may be.
Outside receiver in reduced split formations. But he's got a physical presence. There's a fluidity to him that shows up both as a route runner and with the ball in his hands. He really understands how to run routes, pace, tempo, different releases. His footwork is really controlled. I mean, he looks like a 10-year pro. I mean, the guy that I thought of when I watched him, and I watched him last summer. I watched all his 2023 targets. I've actually watched all his 2022 targets, his 2023 targets, and his 2024 targets. And last summer, the guy I thought of was Tyler Boyd in his prime. Because Boyd had like 3 or 4 years where he caught 90 balls, somewhere in that range. I think that Egbuka is just a pro. He's going to come in. He's going to do the right things. He's going to run the right routes. You can move him around a bit. He's not an explosive player. He's not a vertical guy. He's just, to me, just a really solid guy. He's going to play in the league for 12 years, and he's just going to be a really good player.
And so the reason why he's not thought of more highly is because he's not quite as explosive or dynamic as some of the other guys?
Yeah, he does not have that explosive element to his game. But, again, the way look, you could argue Puka Nacua doesn't have an explosive element to guys who are really just precise route runners. Think what Amon-Ra St. Brown has done in the Lions offense. No one would say that Amon-Ra St. Brown has the physical traits of Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, because he doesn't. But he understands everything about route running to a high level, and you put him in an offense like that, and he's a volume receiver and a high-level volume receiver. If you dropped Egbuka into that offense instead of St. Brown, it's possible he could be the same guy in terms of volume targets, just because he just knows, he understands, he gets it. So, it all depends on where you go offensively and, what the route concepts are, what the coaching staff is. But Egbuka is a really quality receiver who understands the subtleties of the position.
It's really interesting. That was the name I was going to bring up, because the way you were describing him, Greg, I was like, gosh, that kind of sounds a little bit like what people said about Amon-Ra St. Brown when he was coming out.
And he was a 4th-round pick. So let's understand that Amon-Ra St. Brown, even though he had a really good career at USC, no one saw him just with his traits as a top 50 pick. So that's what – look at Puka Nacua. He was a 5th-round pick, I believe. So much depends on the offense you're in and how you're deployed. And, then guys can become volume receivers.
He was the best guy around.
So there you go. Obviously, talking about knowing how to run routes. You guys remember Aaron Rodgers' last year in Green Bay, how many times he was doing the whole, yep. And then Matt LaFleur mentioning, how soon could they put Jayden Reed in what he was referring to as the F, which is essentially a moving Z is what it turns into. And when he's talking about the nasty splits or the condensed splits, he's talking about as you'll move that Z in, he may technically get a slot snap. But if you're running Wolf, guess what? Both routes are breaking out, one with a deep corner. And go back and watch, I think it might have been the Rams game, actually. Or was it the Rams? Who was it? Maybe the Texans. The deep shot and triple coverage to Jayden Reed was more of a post than a climb. Typically with a climb, you're going to peak that at 30 yards, right? With this, it was more of like a deep post in the triple coverage. He brings down the catch. Again, I also say go back and watch the Saints game from his rookie year, making that diving grab on the slot fade as well. So when you're talking about these type of receivers, I think it was funny too that you mentioned Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? He was the receiver that was in Ohio State, the year before last. And what did he do? He went to Seattle, lined up in the slot, and what did he end up with? 1,200 yards, 1,100 yards, whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. Literally, he outworked DK to the point where DK Metcalf is now no longer a Seattle Seahawk. So Emeka Egbuka is kind of cut from the same type of cloth there. And I love that he mentioned Puka Nacua because we were all over that on this particular show, that draft. Puka Nacua, another guy that doesn't have elite traits, that can be a dominant player when he's on his game, which is most of the time. And I love the comparison to Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you guys could draft Amon-Ra St. Brown at pick 23, would you do it? I would run the damn card up there. I'll tell you something else that comes to mind, too. You guys remember us talking about Brian Branch? The year he came out. That was the first year on the pod. What did everybody say? He's too small. He's too small. He's too small. Brian Branch is out there whooping people on the football field. So you got to be real careful with the whole size thing and how people are deployed and all that. And it like he said, it comes down to there's not every offense in the league that you would look at Egbuka like anything other than a slot, but in a Sean McVay offense, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I think another guy that comes to mind with that is like a Kyle Hamilton. How people in the draft are like, well, he may be the best safety, but his traits just aren't there, and the athletic traits aren't there, and the skill set. And then what does he do? He comes in on the scene and is arguably one of the best safeties in the whole National Football League. So,
right, exactly.
I think at the receiver position, just talking about Ohio State's program. I mean, you mentioned JSN, right?
Yeah.
So you got JSN, you got Marvin Harrison Jr., and now we got Emeka Egbuka. And clearly they're churning out talent here, top tier talent at the receiver position. So
that actually goes with what Andy Monday was saying. He says Egbuka had lots of other receivers in the wide receiver room at OSU. So he's used to not being the dominant wide receiver, which would maybe help him fit our team situation quite well. Which actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so too, especially when we talk about bringing receivers in, right? We talk about the depth in the room already, the project that's been going on for the last 2 to 3 years, bringing in young talent. So, I think it's a testament to what Ohio State's doing with their receiver rooms, and it's churning out guys that are, able to come in their, first and second years in the NFL and, be relevant to their teams and know how to be a seasoned pro, kind of like Andy's saying, like you pointed out, Jacob, like, no stranger to playing a complementary role or, being another talented guy in a room full of talented guys. You don't have to worry about the ego and the big headedness if everyone kind of buys in and we're all trying to eat together and it helps the team, So I think, looking at Egbuka and really Ohio State's program as a whole, college football fans aside, regardless of where your loyalties lie, you can't deny that, these past few drafts, man, there's talent there at the receiver position.
Yeah. So based off what Greg Cosell said about Emeka Egbuka and how he felt the type of player he was, we gave him a 3-point bonus. We didn't give him the normal 5-point bonus there because I didn't feel like he was like, oh, this guy's the best wide receiver in the draft, but he spoke very, very highly of him. With that being said, now, along with Emeka Egbuka's 9+ RAS, he is in the 18 spot on our big board. So if he's there at 23 and Gutey likes what he sees, what he's seen at that pro day, that may be the guy he goes with. And if you can move him around a lot, like Greg Cosell suggested, imagine him and Jaden Reed on the field at the same time. No longer can they key in on Jaden Reed on the end arounds. It's going to look like cue up the circus music. And the fact that they said the big thing on Emeka Egbuka is he acts like a 10-year vet, right? What does that mean? It means he understands how to run the route tree. It means he knows how to talk to the media. And he's just, like y'all said, a team player, like Andy pointed out, is someone that could probably fit perfectly into that locker room. So it all takes out, obviously. But we got some news earlier today, too, with another top 30 visit. Not sure if you guys seen this. Thank you, sir. Breaking news. Easton Butler tweeted out the Packers are hosting ECU cornerback Shavon Revel. We got to get used to saying that, right? Shavon Revel is how you say his name. Going to be nice getting I said he's 24th on our PTA big board. Going to be nice getting the Packers training staff a firsthand look at the injuries. If they check out, Shavon Revel is a great player at 23. He is currently on our big board in the 30 spot, as it's shaking around a little bit. So I want to get your all's initial reaction to this. And you understand what I'm saying? Like, we're a little concerned about I think it was the ACL, and we'll dive into the scouting report in just a second. The fact that the Packers doctors are going to be able to kind of see him firsthand, I think is absolutely huge. They'll be able to remove any questions that they may have or go ahead and just take him completely off the draft board. What's your all's take on Shavon Revel going in as a top 30 visit for the Packers?
I think you hit it on the head. Injury is the number one concern. I think looking at everything else, there's no reason to be upset about the Packers having this guy on their radar at all. It's just, 2022, he played one game. He played 12 games in 23. He played 3 games last year. So what are we getting in the NFL draft? I think that's the biggest question mark. I think the tangibles and the intangibles are already kind of defined with him, and you kind of see the mold of the player that he is when he's healthy. But this looks like, I don't know. It looks like the collegiate version of Jair right now when it comes to the injuries. So it's a big question mark, but it is cool that, top 30 visit, put the emoji up, add it to the list. So certainly on the radar. And even if you look at the track record, right, he was hurt in 22, 23 he played, he was hurt in 24. Well, I guess in 25, he's going to play 17 games, so, it's worth taking a look at, right?
Yeah. Jacob, your take?
Yeah, I think I'd probably echo Zacharias Earls. He says pass. He's coming off an ACL. Chuck is talking about how he needs a medical evaluation. It's more of the bang for my buck with that pick at the 23rd spot, like Tim talked about. I don't want another guy that's going to be you can't make the club in the tub type dude. We've had our issues with Jair and his ability to stay healthy. I'm not looking to add another guy. And honestly, it's Shavon. He's coming from already a smaller school, so that kind of has a little knock against him. Very sized well. I think he's almost 6'2" or whatever. 32-inch arms, I believe. Yeah, so he's got the size. It's just like Tim said, if the last 2 out of 3 years you aren't very healthy whatsoever. I mean, it wasn't like you're missing just a couple of games. It's you miss almost the whole season and then miss almost another season. And you had your best time when you had your most games. That's great, but jumping up in the NFL, that's a whole different, box of worms you're opening up there. So I'd probably be out unless we get him sliding real far down.
And that may be something too, like if Gutey's planning on trading back, that might drop him right in the sweet spot there as well, right? But here's the scouting report on him. I said Green Bay Packers have reportedly scheduled a top 30 visit with East Carolina cornerback Shavon Revel. I had to write it down. According to sources cited by Sports Illustrated, positioning him as a key pre-draft prospect for the 2025 NFL Draft. Revel, who currently sits in the 24th spot on our big PTA big board, dazzled at the NFL Combine with his 6'1" and 7/8", 194-pound frame and 32 5/8" arms. Is drawing attention as the Packers look to bolster their secondary with a physically gifted defender boasting elite traits and a high ceiling. All right, scouting report coming out of high school was a 3-star recruit from Harding University High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shavon Revel Jr. entered the 2021 class as a raw but intriguing talent at 6'2". And notice the 6'2" different from the combine. That's what was reported. So that's why you'll see a little bit of discrepancy throughout these articles. He flashed exceptional length and speed, reportedly running a 4.5 second 40-yard dash. His senior tape showcased a knack for disrupting receivers at the line and tracking the ball in the air, earning him accolades as North Carolina's number 13 prospect per 24/7 Sports. Coaches pegged him as a developmental gem with the tools to dominate at the collegiate level. Revel's 4-year run at East Carolina saw him evolve from a special teams contributor to a lockdown corner. As a freshman, he logged 6 tackles in 11 games, primarily on kick coverage. His sophomore year brought 15 tackles and a pass breakup in 12 appearances. In 2023, he emerged with 27 tackles, 1 interception, and 6 pass breakups over 12 starts, allowing just a 45.6% completion rate. His 2024 season was cut short after 5 games by an ACL tear, but not before he notched 12 tackles, 2 picks, and 6 breakups, earning an 87.0 PFF coverage grade and a 42% completion rate allowed. Career totals: 60 tackles, 3 interceptions, 13 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble across 40 games. It goes on to say, detailed scouting report entering the draft, measured at 6'1", 7/8", 194 pounds. Revel pairs a lean, wiry build with elite length with 32 5/8" arms and untapped athleticism. He didn't test due to the ACL recovery, but pre-injury estimates pegged him as a sub 4.5 40 and a 38-inch vertical. In coverage, he excels in press man, using his reach to jam receivers and fluid hips to mirror routes. His ball skills shine with 13 career pass breakups, and he's a willing tackler in run support, though he can get grabby downfield. The ACL injury clouds his bend and top-end speed, but his tape suggests a CB1 ceiling if he refines his footwork and regains explosiveness. He's a natural fit as a boundary corner in Green Bay's scheme. Now, the injury and character concerns. Revel's major setback came on October 15, 2024, when he tore his ACL in practice, ending his senior season and sidelining him for the Senior Bowl and combine testing. Recent updates are promising. He hit 21 miles per hour on a treadmill and is on track for a full summer clearance, per the Draft Network's Ryan Fowler. No other significant injuries mar his record, and his frame suggests resilience. Off the field, Revel's a low-risk prospect, no red flags, a strong work ethic, and praise from ECU coaches for his leadership and football IQ. His resilience through rehab only bolsters his reputation.
My knee.
Draft projection. Revel stock is a roller coaster. Pre-injury, Mel Kiper Jr. ranked him as the number 2 corner, with some mocks slotting him in the top 15. Tim, if you don't give me a Mel Kiper drop, I'm going to lose my mind, sir. I just want you to know that.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way?
The ACL tear drops him to a late first round or early second round projection, with ESPN's Phil Yates listing him as the number 4 edge defender. What? Number 4 cornerback, I'm sure is what it meant. Bleacher Report at number 29 overall. His visit with the Packers, number 23 pick, aligns with their need for a big physical corner to complement Jair Alexander, if he's here, of course, right? If his medicals check out, he's a day 1 steal. If teams balk at the injury, could slide to the top of day 2, unlikely to fall past pick 50. Shavon Revel, like I said, here with his size, his 6'1" and 7/8, scored him a 9.53. His weight at 194 scored a 7.24. So obviously the RAS is going to be incomplete even going into the draft. So parting thoughts here, gents, on Shavon Revel on the Packers radar after hearing all that.
I'm a little more intrigued just hearing that he's recovered so well and so quickly, and that it looks like that he's really going to be springing back. And the fact that they said there's no other serious injuries, that helps me understand a little bit more of his career. Did he miss that much time in 2022 just from not being able to get on the field? What it was? You know what I mean? Like, that would change my mind quite a bit going forward if it's just the fact that he had the one freak injury and he's pretty much coming off of it. And you talk about the off the field, low level risk, no red flags, strong work ethic. I mean, praise from the coach and football IQ. What more do you want in a Packer than that? So,
I don't have anything else on another injury, Jacob. Maybe you do, Tim, but obviously the snaps would suggest something was wrong. It sounds like it's probably being a 3-star recruit, and trying to get on the field, I would imagine. So
I think that's what it looks like too. I mean, we're just looking at numbers, but
2023,
you don't go from 25 snaps to, 600 snaps or whatever if you're not like the real deal.
Well, I think they mentioned that he basically came in there as a special teams guy that evolved into a QB1 or CB1. So I'm sure that was probably the part of the transformation there.
I think the one thing that stood out to me from that write-up is the hands, right? The infamous.
How about these hands?
Handsy corners coming up, out of college into the pros, you're going to struggle early on unless you figure out how to play from the hips down, play with your feet and, beat your man to the spot, win those matchups. If you got late hands, you're handsy as a corner, that can be a negative attribute. So certainly nothing that can't be coached up or coached out in his game. And I think he meets a lot of the other thresholds. So, again, if this guy's healthy, man, I don't see why we don't take a crack at him if he's on the board.
I love what Deadfish says here, too. They may be looking at him if he drops to 54 or lower because of the injuries. That could be the case. It could be the case. And then, again, they get him in for a top 30, and he proves, look, man, I'm running 21 miles an hour on a treadmill. No worry about the speed. Obviously, you don't want to test the cutting too soon, being able to cut, with the agility drills and things. But to me, you could test that stuff on the tape. I think this top 30 visit's all about getting their hands on that knee and deciding, okay, everything looks like it's in good shape. So as Coach Lynn says, trade back and grab Revel. I'd be good with it. Like maybe trade back to 31 or 32, somewhere in that range, and then snag them up and then pick up a pick, that type of thing. I don't think it's ideal. I still would rather have Jahdae Barron, me personally. And if Will Johnson can prove that he's healthy, But man, that's the one, Tim. Like as you were saying that about Shavon, it's like, man, Will's the guy I kind of see like that. Like,
yeah, and they're both kind of in that same category, right? Like, well, if we're talking healthy, you feel good about these guys on your football team, but if there's a big question mark, we don't know.
Right.
And like we talk about Jair, right? Jair came in healthy, he looked great coming out of Louisville, right? So, he didn't get hurt until his first couple years in the league. So, maybe, like I said, with Shavon Revel there's maybe there's precedence that like he's going to hit his stride and be healthy in his first few years in the NFL. So keep our eyes peeled,
Definitely. You guys want to stay in this vein here with cornerback talk? Is that cool?
Oh, I'm never going to complain about cornerback talk, Clayton.
Let's do it. Let's keep with the theme here. And we actually did a little bit of a breakdown earlier, had a little bit of time and went through this. This was a lot of fun. Just taking the cornerbacks. Now I had to shuffle the numbers a little bit, so they're not going to be in perfect order according to our PTA big board, but we now have the corners listed in order of our PTA big board, a couple out of sync. It's okay. And then just a little kind of strength. What's their strengths, right? What is it that you need to know about these specific cornerbacks? And we'll start off here. The top corner in the draft, obviously Travis Hunter, and all I said was with the draft fast approaching. Let's take a look at the top cornerbacks on our PTA big board and what they do well, along with their most recent RAS. So Travis Hunter is the number 2 prospect on our big board. Elite ball skills. Hunter's background as a two-way player shines with his ability to track and attack the ball like a wide receiver, leading to standout interception numbers. Fluid athleticism, his smooth hips and quick twitch movements allow him to mirror receivers effortlessly in man coverage. Versatility, excels at both corner and safety alignments, plus his offensive snaps show rare football IQ and adaptability. Obviously, he's 6'1", 185, has an incomplete RAS. There's no chance we're going to get Travis Hunter, so we'll move it along here. Here's Will Johnson. He's currently now in the 14 spot on our big board.
Here's the guy.
And here is his scouting report. All right. Lockdown man coverage. Johnson's length and technique consistently neutralize top receivers, often forcing quarterbacks to look elsewhere. Physicality disrupts at the catch point with strong hands and timing, rarely losing contested battles. Instincts. He reads the quarterback's eyes and route concepts with precision, jumping plays for picks. And then his RAS obviously incomplete because of the injury. 6'1", little over 6'1.5". That scored him a 9.48. Pretty much the same exact size as Shavon Revel, right? And Will Johnson. So anything you guys want to add to Will Johnson? I know we've talked about him quite a bit, but it sounds like he's more of one of those man cover corners, which is probably why he's at the top of the list in this draft.
I think if he's healthy, he's
the best guy around.
But question mark, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you
think?
About
you, Jacob? Anything?
I just still am too gun shy with that. That guy's got all the injuries. He's got injuries I don't even know are injuries. He's got them. It's going to be a no for me.
Got it. All right, let's move it along. Here's our boy Jade Barron, man. He is a spark plug too, man. This dude plays.
Here's the guy.
He's in the number 20 spot currently on our big board. It was before it shuffled earlier today. Tackling prowess. Love to see that. A willing and effective tackler and run support, rare for a corner with a high success rate on contact. Quick reaction speed, explodes out of breaks to close passing windows, especially in zone or off-man coverage. Slot versatility, thrives inside using agility and awareness to handle shifty slot receivers and tight ends. So, again, he's got a physicality to his game. There's no doubt about it. When you look at the RAS, right now he's sitting at an 8.81. Okay, his height came in at 5'10", a little over 5'10.5", which is right there in that Jair ballpark. His weight was 194. That scored him a 7.24. The height scored him a 4.90. His composite explosion grade was good with a vertical jump of 35 inches, broad jump of 10 foot, and I think it was 3 inches. And then his composite speed grade was great with a 4.39 40-yard dash, 2.56 20-yard split, and a 1.55 10-yard split. No agility testing is available right now. His arm length is 29, a little over 29.5 inches there, if I'm reading that correctly. So,
I mean, I feel like the only thing you can say negative about him is the height, right?
Right.
Like, what does he control about his height? Like, not much, right?
And the last guy that we drafted what people concerned about that, Tim, was Jair Alexander. He ended up being a damn stud. So
absolutely. And we took him in the first round as well. And I'll tell you what, Jair was never looked at as being able to play safety. And I think Jahdae Barron is a guy that can play safety. He can play boundary. He can play slot. The versatility factor is there with this guy for sure.
Definitely. Jacob, what do you think about Jahdae?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably my CB1 right now in this draft. Coach Lynn, as you were talking about that, said, hey, he reminds me of Ja, which, again, a little bit shorter comparison. But I would love to see him walk into that secondary and absolutely bolster it, because if Ja does come back and you could have a Jahdae Barron and Ja on the other side,
and then you got
that safety room, and then whoever is going to be there.
We got Nate Hobbs coming up behind him, That's
crazy. That's a lot all of a sudden.
Yeah. It is, man. It is. So, we'll see what shakes out with him. J. Cole, appreciate the information. He says April 4th is the pro day for Colorado. So I don't know if Travis Hunter will run or not. If I was him, I wouldn't run. You got more to lose than gain there. I'd just sit my butt over to the side, do some interviews, and go, hey, if y'all want me, take me. If not, I'll go somewhere and kick your ass.
I agree 100%. I mean, he's bona fide top 10 regardless, right? Worst case scenario, he's a top 10 pick, probably top 5.
Yeah. Next on the list, in order of our PTA big board, Shavon Revel Jr. We got him listed as an outside corner here out of East Carolina. We just talked about him as a top 30 visit. Press coverage strength. He excels at jamming receivers at the line, disrupting timing with physicality before his 2024 injury. Ball production showed a knack for turnovers with quick hands and anticipation. Long speed, recovers well downfield, sticking with vertical threats before his season was cut short. When you talk about long speed, you're talking about stride length. And I'm sure Coach Lynn can attest to this. It's something that Greg Cosell taught me just listening to him talk about it. He's definitely got the stride length. You can tell he's got long legs. So what that allows you to do, you might not be as quick, although everything suggests that Revel is quick. You can recover when you do fall behind on one of those. Like, say you do try to jam and somebody beat you off the line, but that stride length, you can make that ground back up in recovery mode. So, again, his RAS, we kind of already hit on it. We'll just skim over it here. Based off those strengths there, did we learn anything else? Any other comments? I know we kind of talked about Shavon already. What y'all think, fellas?
Yeah, I'm still a little hesitant with that one. If he were to drop, definitely, if we were to trade back, I'd totally be a lot more comfortable with that pick. It just if we're at 23, it'd be a little too rich for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. I think Jahdae Barron at 23 is, hands down.
Totally cool with it.
Yeah, I think if Revel's there at 23, I think you look at your board and maybe make a decision at that point. But again, though, I mean, if we assume the guy's going to be healthy, he's a top tier prospect for sure.
Do you think anybody just ever took Shavon aside and was like, that's not what your name is. That's not how you spell it. And he's like, no, it's Shavon. And you're like, it's not.
I can't figure it out, man.
Exactly.
That's me right there. Yeah. Very, very well. I can't figure out how it's like, spell it like it sounds. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, 56 spot, we got Trey Amos, cornerback, outside corner from Ole Miss. Sticky coverage, shadows receivers with smooth transitions and minimal separation, reflected in his solid 16 for 62 targets defended in 2024. Zone awareness, reads routes and quarterbacks effectively, and off coverage breaking on underneath throws. Competitive toughness, battles through blocks and fights for position, holding up against bigger receivers. And he scores an 8.86 RAS, although he's lacking agility drills. His height, 6 foot, and guess what? 6 foot and 6 inches, if I'm reading that correctly, at 8.63. His weight, 195. That's a 7.56. His bench press, 13 reps at a 5.37. Composite explosion grade was okay. His vertical, only 32.5 inches, scored him a 2.48. His broad jump, however, scored him an 8.46 with a 10'6" broad jump. His composite speed grade, great, with a 4.4340, scoring at 8.73. 20-yard split was a 2.57, scoring at 8.47, and a 10-yard split, a 1.53, scoring at 8.70. This is a guy that's very interesting, although we thought he was going to be a lot bigger than this before he got to the combine. You guys remember there were some people saying he's 6'2", and he ended up being just a little shy of 6'1". So What's your take on Trey Amos? Because that's kind of the fallback plan. If you do want to trade back and see if Shavon, and all of a sudden Savon's taken, that's a dude you could probably rebound and take there in the second round.
Yet another top tier prospect from Ole Miss.
Dude, I was gonna say I'd be happy if we went Nolan and then somehow got Amos.
Jacob's like, just draft everyone from Ole Miss.
If Harris falls, then we go back and get Ivy in the fourth. Come on, bro. Let's go.
Yeah. I do think, though, that being said, like, I'm pretty high on Trey Amos, too. He's been on my short list for a while. But I think, coming into the NFL, he's probably a rotational guy. He's probably a, 2 or 3 on your depth chart, kind of a project kind of player. Plus, he'll be 24 in his rookie season, I believe. So, Gutey DiCaprio factor. About.
It's funny hearing Greg Cosell talk about that on that pod. I think it was this morning I was listening to it, and he said, somebody had brung up a prospect, and they said he was 24, 25, and he said, I talked to some GMs, and he said, I know some GMs that bothers, but the GMs I talk to, they say it's a non-issue. I was like, maybe we're the ones blowing this out of proportion, right? But we know.
We got to find out how much he's talking to Gutey.
Exactly. Probably didn't have a conversation with Gutey. Fred McFarley in the chat says, where's Amos on the board? Can we get him at 54? Just seems like a safer, healthier prospect. We could get him at 54. Again, when we did this earlier, that's what these numbers are right here. He was 56 on our big board. So that may have shifted a little bit. I did some RAS work cleaning the board up earlier. So again, there's Trey Amos in the 56 spot. Now we got Benjamin Morrison. Guys, we are way lower on him on our board than most people are. Obviously, cornerback out of Notre Dame. He's an outside corner. He's 76 on our board currently. Some people got him as a first-round pick. I've got him in the 76 spot. It's mainly because the PFF hurt him a little bit. But obviously, you see the captain, the C on the jersey there. He's the captain for Notre Dame. Anticipation, elite pre-snap reads, and route recognition lead to frequent pass breakups and INTs. Technique, he's polished footwork and hand usage keep him in phase with receivers in man coverage, and his playmaking ability consistently generates splash plays with a nose for the ball when healthy. Now, his RAS obviously incomplete as well. He's another 6 foot, 6 foot and 2 inches, scoring him a 7.95, and he had his weight was 193, scoring him a 6.92. So all that obviously meets the minimum threshold for the Packers. His arm length 30.3, and his hand size was 9 1/4. We've talked about him a lot, man, and I've probably steered more Packer fans off of Benjamin Morrison than anyone else. Being a Notre Dame fan, I remember everybody clamoring over him when it was coming off season and draft time, and I was like, I like Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame fighting Irish. I don't like him as a pro, me personally. I get it. It's not that you wouldn't take him in the second or third round. Don't get me wrong, but when people are talking first round, I'm a little hesitant, man. I'm just hesitant on it.
I like Maxwell Hairston more than him.
I could see that, although our board's got him a little lower too. But yeah, I can see that. Yeah, J. Cole, I'm worried about his injury, talking about the hip injury. Hips are, as Jacob knows, man, hips are nothing to play with, right, Jacob?
Yeah, the hips don't lie. And once you replace one, fun's over, guys.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Let's keep it moving here. Anything else on Benjamin Morrison, Jets?
It's just real quick. His he was pretty durable up until this last year. His best 2023, where he was almost an 80 overall grade. Played almost 600, well over 600 snaps. Only allowed 25 receptions. I mean, his whole college career, his passer rating against him starting in 2022, 29.2, 60.8, 58.4. So he's been pretty well at what he does. It's just, can he be on the field, stay healthy? A common theme with this year's group of cornerbacks.
Yeah, and the main thing that's bringing him down on our board is he was 330th at his position this last year when I took the information in. Okay, so that's according to PFF at the time. So if we remove that number, he's probably going to jump into the 40s, I would imagine. So that's how much it hurts. And people go, well, he was hurt. No, he got hurt suddenly in the year was over. Up to that point, what was his PFF grade last year? What's it showing right now?
It was for last year or this? Well, it was 71.4. 71.4. Yeah, not bad at all. Real quick, Greg Rice just made me laugh. He goes, it gives me a little chuckle when Jacob or one of the other guys mean to click on a meaningful content and they click on mine instead. Yeah, it happens quite a bit, at least once or twice an episode where I'm like, that's a good comment. And before I can get to it, it's something about Affam.
Oh, we're going to give him some.
All right, moving along. Next, you got Azare Thomas, cornerback out of Florida State. We got him listed as an outside corner. Here is his scouting report. Explosive, closing speed, rapid burst to the ball, disrupts passes, physical presence, uses his frame to challenge receivers at the catch point and in run support. Recoverability, bounces back from initial missteps with speed and effort to contest deep shots. We got him in the 75 spot. I feel a little bit better about him.
Yep.
And Benjamin Morris.
And he's barely old enough to drink. So, he fits the age demo pretty well.
Green Bay ain't the town for him. If he's barely old enough to drink. So obviously with the RAS, he scores a 7. His size, 6'1" and 4 inches, it looks like. Or let's see, 6'1" and I can't even remember what the 4 is, to be honest.
Yeah. PFF's got him at 6'2", so he's probably high 6'1s.
There you go. 933 on that. His weight 197, so a little bit thicker. 816 is what that scores. He didn't do a vertical jump, however, his broad jump was 10'2". It scored a 637. His 40 is what hurt him. Okay, his speed, his composite speed grade, a 4.58 40, scored him 4.43. 20-yard split was a 2.66, and a 10-yard split was a 1.60, scoring in the 4s across the board. So it was a poor composite speed grade. Shuttle 4.21. Scoring a 6.76, and he did not run the 3 cone. Again, a little bit more size on him than some of these other cats, but what do y'all think about Azare?
High FBI, man. High FBI with him. I keep seeing that across different reports. His intelligence is upper tier for sure, and he's versatile too. Able to play in a multitude of schemes, I think, at the pro level. So, if you can get over some of these measurables on the physical side, we talk about this, right? Do you want a super athlete or do you want a damn good football player?
Right.
And this guy looks like he might be a damn good football player, despite kind of some question marks with the RAS. So it's kind of my thoughts on him.
Yeah, I like some of the stuff that PFF highlighted with his pros and cons. Pros, constant pre-snap communicator. I think that's one of the biggest things. I used to always hate when I'd see the Packers defense and nobody would be talking pre-snap. They'd all just kind of be like,
right. They would all look confused post-snap, though.
You'd be looking at each other like, yeah, what? I thought you were doing this. I thought you were doing that. I think that some of the best football players in the history of the game have been great communicators, whether it be right before the snap, post-snap. I mean, even during the play, you'll see some guys that are yelling at other guys, you know what I mean? Or in between